Hello and welcome back to the Can I Get a Refill podcast. We're in for a very awesome, inspiring, motivating episode today. We're about 40 episodes in. If you've been with me since the beginning, you'll notice the theme of filling up your cup, but also sort of motivating and working on mindset a lot. We're heading into the second half of the year. Well, we're already well and truly in it. No more pussyfooting around. We are really on a quest to up-level our lives. And today we're talking worthy and wealthy with author and mindset coach, Emma Lagerlow. Emma, welcome to the podcast finally.
Thank you for having me, Steph. I know we have been trying to coordinate this
Yeah.
for a while, haven't we? But
We've
we're
had it
finally
decided.
here, and I'm so
Scripts, yeah,
excited.
finally here. Well, it's funny, the last few guests I've had are so aligned and I've loved them, but I actually haven't even hunted them myself. I've had wonderful people send them to me, but you I hunted because I saw you pop up on my feed with your book launch and you're in a similar area to me, and I was like, right, I'm chasing her. I want her in. And for those watching on YouTube, this is the wonderful book, Worthy and Wealthy, that I recently purchased from one of my favorite bookstores, the best little bookshop in town in Cronulla. And it's such a great book. I like books that don't overcomplicate. I like that they're very simple and punchy. And one of my favorite things about your books is that you related it to a fictional client or character. So it was just very easy to personalize the story and it felt very relatable. So loved it so much, but we're going to dive into that. But before we do, why don't you tell everyone a little bit about what led you on a quest to up-leveling your life?
Well, it was probably that book, to be honest. It was just something that I had on my heart for forever. I started writing actually a fiction novel when I was in my mid-20s, and I got to a certain point and I felt like I just needed more life experience. I needed to be, have children and all of that to be able to keep writing about, my character. And then that life experience came and there was just no time for the writing.
I hear that. I also started a book. I've started two books that are sort of sitting on the back burner. You know, when you get to that one day, I'll finish
Yeah,
that.
I
Hopefully that
know.
one day is coming very soon.
Yeah. I know I'd have these moments of just like drive and motivation and and I'm gonna
Yeah,
do it and that's what and it just never
yeah,
happened
it's hard.
until we had a pandemic. And
Yes.
that was for me
So no
such.
baking sourdough for you, right? It
Yes.
was writing.
Well, there was a little bit of that. A little bit of that, but just having so much time when we were all, stuck at home. And it really for me was like it's now or never. At the same time, I unknowingly was going through perimenopause.
Mm.
And so that I think was another reason maybe for a little bit of the shifts in and even like that, like it's time. Like I could feel, I was getting older. And so there was a lot
Yeah.
of, when am I ever going to do the things that I really want to do? And so that's when
Well, talk me
then I
through
found a
the
coach who could support me. Yes.
well, talk me through this. Just while we're on it with perimenopause, what was there something in that that sort of made you think, oh, I'm in the next stage of my life. Now I got to light a fire under my ass and get things moving. Is that what it felt like for you, or did it make you go sort of more internal and discovering self?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to get into the nitty gritty, I had an IUD because I've got four kids and, I didn't want to have any more.
Yeah, I
And
don't blame
that can
you.
actually mask your symptoms of, getting menstrual cycles and all that type of thing. And so I wasn't even really to be aware that I was in it. But so I think it was more subliminal. Like it was just like maybe my hormones were changing and as I did transition into menopause, and I was quite young, like I was 45, which is, on the young side. So I was in
Yeah,
perimenopause probably from my late 30s. And so this is all around the time of like 44, 45. I feel like there was just a
yeah,
shift in
that is young.
in me from just a confidence and just they talk about like as you get older they talk about the crone and that you're the wise woman and all of that, and I think it's really true as we shift out of being in that really fertile phase that we then become more wise and also like not caring so much about what people think and all of that. And so maybe that was perfect time for me to step into going like stuff it, I'm going to write this book now, like I'm ready.
No, you're spot on. And I reference that a lot about loving being in my 40s. I'm 42 now. And God, I hope perimenopause doesn't happen yet because I haven't started for my second child yet. But we'll see whatever the universe decides. But I always talk about I love how I found my voice. And I really, and you do find that, that wisdom and that quiet confidence. But I also think there's that sense of responsibility for passing on the wisdom that you've learned to younger women. And I guess that's sort of what led you to the book, right?
Yeah, certainly it did. And my kids were all sort of entering their teenage years. That was another sort of catalyst, really to notice as they were growing older, that I needed to find more for myself and do the things that
Yes.
really lit me up as well. And so, yeah, I found a coach, and then I fell in love with coaching, and then it was all just started to make sense. And I even had the idea because I was working in corporate. I'd been working in corporate for 25 years in marketing, banking, and finance. And I could see maybe I could actually create a lifestyle around what was really lighting me up, which was coaching, and then being able to help other people to actually find what it is that's going to light them up and give them that fulfillment and a sense of purpose in their lives. And so then I had, the idea for my book, plus I had this whole new direction in my life that has just been so enriching. And yeah, I'm just in love with my
I
life.
feel lit up watching you talk about it. I just love it. I remember many years ago, I was working I always worked desk jobs that I hated because, have to pay the bills. But I remember I started recording some of the songs that I'd written, and this guy at work asked me about it, and I was in a really bad place, abusive relationship. And I started telling him, and he goes, "Look at your face light up." Like it was just a little piece of me. It was my thing, my baby that I was creating. And it's such a common thread of all the people I interview of in a corporate life, and then chasing something. And I just think that's true wealth to me. Time to be with your family and time to do the things that light you up inside and not just do jobs that you feel you have to do to pay the bills. So I just love it. It's just happening more and more. And, there's certainly benefits in today's society that allows you to do that more than a factory job. So that's really awesome.
Yeah, certainly.
Well, yeah, that sort of leads into the next thing I was going to talk about. Like, I don't gatekeep when I find information that I feel has really boosted my life, because I feel that, when one of us succeeds, we all succeed. And it's a part of a sisterhood to pass on that information. So is that what drew you to working one-on-one with clients to help them reach their fullest potential?
Yeah, definitely. I think once I could see this sort of light in my life, and I know for a lot of people, it doesn't have to mean you have to quit your job and go off and do these
No, we
crazy
can do it on the
things where you
side.
change
Yeah.
complete direction. But it's finding the things that you're passionate about. Like I know you're a singer, and you're not doing that as much lately, but now you found this podcast, and
Yeah.
so you could do smaller things in your lives, like even reigniting the things that you loved doing when you were younger, your hobbies and things like that, the things that can just bring that sense of fulfillment to our lives. And particularly like as our kids do get older, if we're parents, or even as we get older, regardless, we do have, I guess, more time, and it would be good to be able to pour that into things that light us up. And so that's what I really am want to help people
Absolutely.
to.
You're only a few years older than me, but you're on such a different phase of life. I'm like so excited with the phase I'm in, but I'm also jealous that I can't wait to get some me time back. I know that sounds horrible. Part of it, sounds a bit horrible because I'm so grateful to be a mom of a young kid, but I wake up at 4 a.m. every day just to get a few things of my own done. It's so very
Yeah.
hard.
I know,
Um,
and that's what I need to remember as well, because yeah, I mean, I was like, now I sprig my morning routine and all of those type of things, and this, like, I love that, but there was no way. Like my kids were waking me up every single day. And the
oh,
first thing was
poor
usually
things.
one of them like poking me or crying or whatever it might be. And yeah,
Yeah,
so
it's a
I think
lot.
there
It's
is
it's all
different chapters of our lives that, but we can
yeah.
still find. And I mean, you're such a great example of carving out the time to be able to do this podcast, which is fulfilling a
Yeah.
creative outlet for you. And
And
I
that's
think
what
that's
saved me.
amazing that you're doing that.
Yeah, well, I've always been prone to depression. I would say I haven't had depression for many years. It's probably more been anxiety in the more recent years. But I was so nervous of postnatal depression. And I honestly, truly believe that this podcast saved me from that, because I kept that little pocket of me that was something for me that I did. I remember I was in the hospital when I didn't post any photos of him yet. I thought I'll wait till I get home yet. And I posted reels of my next podcast, and I had a few friends replied going, that's not the story we were waiting for. Like, where is your son? But I worked all through it, and I loved it because it didn't feel like work. It's a passion project. And I've always felt that a sense of purpose. Some people, And it's not a judgment. Some people don't have that hunger. Some people are just happy with that real sort of, low key, get your pumpkin spice chai latte, do a bit of baking, and that lights them up, and that's cool. But I've always had a very, strong hunger for that sense of purpose. And there was something that really stuck out to me in your book. It's a Japanese word, and I've come across it in a biohacking book that I'm reading now of one of my
Yeah.
next guests. How do you pronounce it? Ikigai? Or
Yeah,
something?
ikigai.
You
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
just briefly touch on that? I actually saw a book of
yeah.
it yesterday in one of those woo-woo stores in Marin.
I know once you hear something once and then it
Yes.
starts coming at you, and that's what happened with me with Ikigai. And
Yeah.
it's like the intersection of what you love, what you're good at, and in the nirvana, what you can be paid for. But it's really like the thing that gets you up in the morning. It's your sense of purpose. And I really love talking about purpose. And, a lot of people think, oh, that's my career and I have to, achieve my purpose through that. But it doesn't, it can be an overarching theme for your life. Like you want to provide a beautiful life for your family and create meaningful experiences and travel, be adventurous, like all of
Yeah.
those things. And so when you sort of understand what it is, and it's really, understanding your values as well to then understand a little bit more about what your purpose is, then your work can be something that really supports that rather than I'm not living my purpose, because
Yes.
so
Yeah.
that is your ikigai. It's like what gets you out of bed in the morning. And
Yes.
I know like for you it's your son who would get you out of bed, but
Well, he
I'm
forces
sure
me.
he
Yeah.
yeah. I'm
No,
sure like that's a big part of it. And for me, like, we were just talking before we hopped on that I have recently been to Europe with my family, and oh, look, it's something I wanted to do in 2020 as well. And so, look, if there
yeah.
wasn't a pandemic, then I probably would have done that then, and the
Yeah.
book might not have even been here at that
Yeah,
at
it's
that
all meant to
juncture.
be.
And this version of me, but it was always something that I wanted to do with my family, and I'm so grateful. Like I've said to so many people, like I will die happy now that I've had this amazing experience with my children, that we will have these memories that we'll remember forever, and it's certainly a huge part of what lights me up and is part of my
Uh,
purpose in life.
yeah. Absolutely. Traveling with kids, that's something I really look forward to. You know what's on my bucket list? The Northern Lights. Is it in Finland? When you sit,
Yeah.
I would love to do that. Like I'm a real Christmas head, so I'd love to do that.
Mm.
Speaking of what gets you out of bed in the morning, what jumped me out of bed this morning is that one of the houses on my vision board just went on realestate.com for sale. So I like bounced out of bed, did a really long manifestation meditation this morning, big running session on the treadmill. I'm feeling very motivated today. So we'll see
Mm.
what that brings.
I love that. Yes, and I love that you talk about manifestation logs. That's part of a little bit in my book as well. And I feel my
Yeah.
next book, I'm really delving into,
Are you?
the power of manifestation. I've just joined
Oh,
actually TBM, to be magnetic. I don't know if you've
haven't heard
heard
of
of
it.
that. Yeah, Lacey Phillips, I think. And anyway, she's just got a really, it speaks to me a lot because it's talking about how we need to feel truly worthy of the things that we desire. And that goes a lot into my book of Worthy and Wealthy. And, you have to feel worthy
Yes.
first and foremost. And
Oh,
really,
let's get into that 100%, but do stay tuned because I've got a banger of a manifestation episode coming up with a very exciting
I
author.
can't
I'm not going
wait.
to say anymore. I'm super excited about it. Okay, in your book, Worthy and Wealthy, you talk about the 5 pillars of a worthy and wealthy life. Can you talk us through each of those areas a little?
Yeah, sure. So the first one is our sense of self-worth. And I think that is so inherent about knowing who we are, knowing our belief systems, and really a lot of that is uncovering our limiting beliefs. So the things that we have learned from our primary caregivers, our teachers, things that we just believe are true about ourselves, yet they may not be, and they may be holding us back
And
subconsciously.
I was going to say, we wouldn't even know what they are.
No,
It's
no.
just, it's almost like a brainwashing or a programming. And it's
Yeah.
sort of the whole part of this journey is either unlearning that stuff or
Mm.
reprogramming, isn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah. And until you're aware that that could even be the case, then you're just going through life, as with all these restrictions
Yeah.
imposed upon you, I suppose, and
Yeah.
holding you back. Like, why didn't I write a book until I was, nearly 50? And so many of our limiting beliefs really go back to feeling not good enough, and whether, that's because we're being criticized or yeah, just how even being a woman, and the things that
Yeah.
are required of us. So it's really trying to unpack that. So I feel like that is the first pillar of a truly wealthy life.
I
Then
would
we
agree.
move into our sense of purpose, which we've touched on a little bit with like around ikigai and, what we want to be remembered for at the end of our lives. I think, it's really important to think about that, because sometimes we can just be so much in the grind of working and paying the mortgage off and doing all those things that we're missing the things that we will probably remember on our deathbed as being either regrets because we didn't do them or so grateful that we did.
Yes, I often, to reframe my mind, if I'm getting a bit pissy with myself, I do think, what would I regret on my deathbed, or how would someone describe me once I'm gone?
Yeah.
And they're very important, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. There's even ones where you write your obituary and I'm like, well, that's a bit full on. But,
Yeah.
what do
No,
you want to be
it's
remembered
powerful.
for? Like, yeah, kind, giving, had an impact. I don't know. I mean, it's different for everyone, but,
Yeah.
and are you living that way right now? And what do you need to change in order to get to that
Yes.
version of
Yes.
yourself? Yeah. Then well-being, and well-being is so important. I know you talk about it a lot, and can I get a refill? Like, really, I know that it's about a cup of tea, but it's also about filling ourselves up,
100%. Yeah.
So, and we know so much about well-being from physical sense of things and what we eat and how much we move, but I talk a lot about even the connections we have in our lives and that the energy that they are bringing. They say they're some of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and are those people uplifting you, or are they dragging you backwards? And
That's super important. And I very much harp on about boundaries a lot in a lot of episodes. And I hope people don't think that I'm, just having beef with people. It's not about that, because what I always talk about too is it's not, in like, if people get a divorce, it's not that one person was wrong and one person was right. It's just that somewhere along the lines, the values got misaligned. And this is what I'm always talking about. That you need to be around those people frequently that are aligned with your values, or that are filling you up energetically. As soon as they feel like, I always picture, I'm very visual, the Dementors in Harry Potter draining energy. As soon as you got people like that in your life, you cannot have the energy and a clear mind to focus on your goals, because it's all your energy is going to sort of combating that energy drain.
yeah, without a doubt, it's so important, I think. And I talk a lot about meditation and gratitude practice and that type of thing in that well-being piece as well. So that's the third pillar. The next pillar, that really what comes into that wealth part of things, is the financial pillar. And as much as I talk about a truly wealthy life, which encompasses all of these pillars, we need to have a sound financial base in order to be able to feel well, and explore a sense of purpose and have a sense of self-worth and all of that. And so it's really important, but it's how much money do we need for that to happen? And I think sometimes we're so busy seeking financial, material gains that we are missing meaningful relationships and that type of thing. And then the final pillar, which I do think is really almost the most important, is time. And that's having that freedom over our time. And so we do need a certain amount of financial security to be able to have that freedom. But it's also so important to know where we're spending our time. And I talk about Covey's time management matrix in this chapter, where there's the 4 quadrants, and there's the urgent and important, which is, someone breaks their arm and you've got to go quickly and do it, or there's a deadline. And then there's
Drop
the,
everything
yeah,
situation. Yeah.
then there's the not important but urgent, which is like the ping of an email or the ring of a phone. And you can be having like a great conversation with a friend or your partner, and your phone rings and you just answer it, and that interrupts that. And so it's being aware of those type of things. Do you need to answer it at that moment, or do you need to respond to that email? What's more important? And then there's the not urgent, not important, which is also good to have in our lives, like binge, or maybe not binging Netflix, but we definitely need to spend, time of just being,
Switching off.
scrolling social media. But yeah, too much of that can be detrimental as well.
Agreed.
The most important quadrant is the not urgent but important, and that is building meaningful relationships, looking after, preventative health care, our well-being,
Yep.
creating meaningful memories. All of those things are things that we are going to remember at the end of our lives, that have enriched our lives. Yet, because they're not urgent, we can sacrifice them often for all the other things. And so it's really
Yeah.
trying to, yeah. And so that's the final pillar.
Yeah, I had a business coach on here once that talked about you're better off reading 1 or 2 books over and over and implementing things. And, people will read every book that comes out, but are the words just coming in and going? And what I love about your book and many books like this is where you have to stop and make notes for yourself and really break it down. So that's when you get out of just the viewing and into the doing. And I think that's the only time when you really have a breakthrough in your life. So when I sat down and you do look at, oh, I'm spending that much time in that quadrant or that, it's very important to figure out where can I change? What, and if it's all up in your head, because we're sort of in, what's the word I'm looking for? We're sort of on autopilot a lot, that it's not until you stop and have a book like this and make notes that you see, and there's simple tweaks. Even the thing that you're talking about the ping of an email. When I watched a doco years ago on Netflix about social media, I went and changed all my settings and only NetBank, phone calls and texts will come through. Everything else I have to actively open and look at. My phone's always on silent and it's always turned down or in my bag if I'm sitting and having a meal with someone, because I just don't want to be, not only is it rude to them, but it makes me dizzy. I just feel like I get so dizzy getting drawn to that
Oh,
screen.
totally. And having the notifications, like I was the same, even on Instagram, and there's like 24 notifications, and half of them are like, do you want to follow this person or something? And not even, but they're just trying to get you back on the app all the
But that's
time.
what that doco said. They're literally making money every time you pick this thing up. So they're designing it that way, because whenever you spend more time on it, and you'll pick it up to look at one notification, and you'll be on there for 10 minutes. I'll go to Instagram, then I go to Facebook, then I go to TikTok, whatever.
Yeah.
And they're making money off you being on that phone. So it's so hard. It's an addictive drug. There's no
We're
doubt.
battling. It's an uphill battle, but there are definitely those things. Like I would definitely recommend taking notifications off as
Life-changing.
many as possible. Yeah, I have my phone on silent. My husband drives me insane. You never answer your phone. But
I'm
yeah,
in the moment.
yes.
But it's definitely taken away from the concentration, because I used to write creatively incessantly. I don't as much anymore. And I used to read. I mean, I didn't have a kid. I would read until 3 a.m. because the book was so good. And do you struggle a bit now with concentration? Because I definitely have since fun.
Yeah, I think it definitely, like I pick my phone up and it's to, check my calendar, but then, the weather, and what about,
Oh my God.
there's that.
Constantly
And
Googling
I'm
for
like,
all
I
weather.
didn't even know what did I pick it up for again?
Yes,
And
we all do
yeah, and
that.
so then that takes away, like even when I'm trying to go to bed and I don't want to look at my phone, but I'm on there for longer and I would love to read, but then I'm exhausted, so I read 2 pages and yeah, so our
Haven't
phones
always
are,
been a night reader, and this week I've shifted. I have so many guests coming on where I'm reading all their books, and I have the biggest to be read list that I've started reading when I wake up really early in the morning. I put the dishes away, do my meditation, then I sit and read, and I'm actually getting through it quicker, because when you go to bed, but it is nice and relaxing before bed. It puts me in a good frame of mind to sleep, but I'll fall asleep. So I'm finding I'm absorbing more, especially with the nonfiction, reading them in the morning. So you might want to tweak. I found that really helped me a lot.
yeah, I like that idea of even just,
Yeah.
allowing myself, half an hour to read
Yeah,
and
only if I wake up early. If I'm running late, forget it. It just stresses me out.
yeah.
Emma, can you talk us through what our limiting beliefs are and what our core values are? Because I wouldn't mind betting that a lot of people don't know what they are. So when they hear podcasts like this, they end the episode thinking, I don't know where to start.
Yeah, so I mean, we did touch a little bit on the limiting beliefs when we were talking about our worthiness in Pillar One, but
Yeah.
basically they're the things that we have just taken on by osmosis through our primary caregivers or teachers or things like that. I mean, it could even be like I used an example of, I think in my book, of a child in kindergarten is drawing a rainbow, and the teacher comes over and says, "That's not how you draw a rainbow."
Yep.
And the child's like, "Oh no," and then they start holding themselves back from being creative because they don't want to be criticized or put down, and so you start protecting yourself from doing these things. There's a lot of limiting beliefs around money as well that I talk about in my book and in my work, and there's like the scarcity mindset of there's just not enough money to go around, and I think that makes people think they have to work so much harder, and money's hard to come by, and or that money is the root of all evil. And so then we might even be subconsciously rejecting money because we don't want people to think that we've come across it by, unwholesome means, or that we're not nice people because we have money.
That's really common in a lot of financial or manifestation things I read, is that a lot of people were brought up to think that money doesn't grow on trees, or it's hard work, it's hard to come by, or it might. You know what I think one of my blockages might be is that my biggest value, like yourself, is time. So I think One of the things that might have blocked me with money is that I'm worried that it would take more time away from the things I want. So I was subconsciously blocked getting, new clients or things because I'm like, no, I don't want more work. I'm already exhausted. So it could, again, it could be completely subconscious. It could have been something that you just, I grew up hearing, a lot about, oh, you got to win the lotto to have money, or, when it's not really the case. It could have been, you could just have started investing really young. So
Yeah.
it's definitely what you hear. And I think there's certain ages, like around 7,
Yeah,
isn't it? 3
yeah,
to
that's
7
the
is when
imprint
they implement.
age from 0 to 7 that we take
Right.
on most of this, and that's where we might hear our parents saying, money doesn't grow on trees, and we start to believe that it's hard to earn money, and then we might even hoard it. So then we're not going to take risks to
Yes.
build
Some
our
people do
wealth
that.
because
Yeah.
we're worried that there's not enough. We ought to keep what we have, and we better not risk it. And so it just all is self-perpetuating. But I think what
Yeah.
you just said is probably so true. It's probably is a subconscious
Yeah.
belief of yours that the more successful you are financially, the less
Yeah.
freedom you're going to have, and so then you
Yeah.
might be subconsciously blocking.
I reckon there is something
Yeah,
to that.
and that
Yeah.
that that is a big thing as well for people, that they do start to, they don't want to be too successful because they're worried about what's that going to mean, who's going to try and take advantage of them or take
Yes.
things from them, and so there's just so many.
Okay. I thought of this thing that I wanted to mention in a solo episode. Let's unpack it now, because I had I'm going to touch on it again in another episode, but I had my first negative comment on a reel, and it made me so angry. So I think I mentioned to you with this recording, sometimes there can be a bit of a time delay, so it can sound like I've jumped over someone when I haven't. But I rarely have male guests, and I had a male guest, and he was discussing something, and I posted a reel, and it sounded like, now when I jump in, I'm not like sabotage, like hijacking the conversation to something else. I'm excited about what they're saying, and I want to jump in and join. The whole point of me starting this podcast was for me to find my voice, because I was silenced for so long in my life, but by so many different people. So that's already a sensitive area in me. And you know how you attract what you're already sort of
Triggered.
triggered, right? So someone wrote, who doesn't even follow me, right? The first negative thing, I've been doing this 2 years, good content, but it was rude that you interrupted him. You should really let him finish what he's saying before you jump in. And I wrote, if my voice, I started this podcast for me to have a voice. And I mentioned the time delay, but I said, if my voice offends you, this is not the podcast for you. So I probably acted a bit like a petulant child, because I've always had the belief of, if someone writes something negative, just ignore or block and delete. But it triggered me because I was already sensitive about that topic, and the fact that it was a male guest, and that's the only time anyone ever said to me. And I grew up feeling like, shh, pipe down, little girl, the adults are speaking, or the men are speaking. And it triggered the shit out of me. So I think, to some degree, I have sabotaged some success because I'm so sensitive that it freaks me out, the idea of people writing negative shit on my pages. And it really was a big light bulb moment for me, going, I reckon that's why things haven't taken off to the way that you thought they would, because you're blocking it because you don't want to deal with comments.
Yeah.
So my whole thing at the moment now, and I'm always telling people, it's not a reflection of you. That's there. If some loser wants to write something negative about you and not work on their own lives, that's their own issue. So now my work is to work on that and not be sensitive and triggered by a stranger's comment. A stranger who had one of those, non-profile pics and a fake name. So it's just, as Brene Brown
Just a troll, But the fact that you were triggered, I think, is what is, like, I'm so curious now when I get
takeaway.
triggered. I'm like, ooh. Like, first of all, of course, I'm like, who do they think they are, and how dare they do that to me? And
Yeah. And then the
like, I'm
thinking
putting
part of
myself
you,
out. I'm in the arena. You're not in the arena.
you've been listening to Brene Brown.
Yeah. Yeah. But then I go, ooh, why did I react that way? Like, what is underneath all of that to make that happen? And I mean, that will even let me talk about the values, which was, the other side that you were asking about. And often you feel triggered because your value, you can be triggered because someone's holding up a mirror and they're uncovering sort of limiting beliefs, but also then potentially their values are not aligned with yours, and so that comment could have even been, like you're saying, keep your voice down and let other people
Yeah.
speak,
It's twofold.
whereas,
I,
yeah.
I listened back to the episode and I went, okay, I can wait a bit more because I get excited and I jump in, but it's not like a chat when you're having coffee with your friends. It is a podcast. So I was like, okay. So now in the last few episodes, I've listened back and I'm like, okay, I've taken that on board and I've waited more and bit my tongue more for people to finish. I think I'm also worried that I'll forget my thought by the time they finish. So I jump in. So I did implement something and I'm happier with the last few episodes since that. So I did take something away from it, but it was also, I left the comment up there because I'm like, okay, it's something for me to work on too with my trigger thing. So I think that subconsciously is a blockage. Yeah. So
Yeah, no, well, thanks for sharing.
yeah.
It's
Anyway, I
interesting. Yeah.
diverted you off.
No, that's fine. No, I was just going to talk about values and how they can also be there. So your values are the things that are like your goal, your signposts in life, the things that are really that make you who you are. So for me, legacy is a value, creativity, connection, authenticity. They're all things that are really important to me. And sometimes you can be triggered by people because that's not their values. And so their values might be, leadership or something like that, and then they're coming down strong at you and whatever, and so then it's interesting, but it's really good to know your values. It can help inform your purpose in life. Adventure definitely is another one of mine, and so that's why I love traveling and things like that. So you can start to then form your purpose about your life, but it also can help you when you get triggered by people to think, well, their values are obviously different to mine, and so that's why they're triggering me, because I don't see life through the same way they do.
Okay, so your recommendation to find your core values would be to sit down and really think about when you've been your happiest and what lights you up and what matters to you. Write them out, and then I need things written to be like, okay, that makes sense. And if you're triggered, you want to assess the situation and see if it's perhaps because someone in your life is not aligned with your values. Is that right?
Yeah. Like that's when I've been, talking about like the energy exchange between people, and when friendships might have gone downhill for me, like then I've really looked at it and I'm like, well, yeah, their values are different to mine, and so potentially, it was great until we got to that point and then realized, oh wait, never we can't meet in the
So
middle,
common in
because
adult
they want
relationships.
different
Yeah.
things to what I want, and so we're not as like-minded as I maybe thought we were. But
Well,
yeah, and
you
then
grew and you changed. You might have
yeah,
started in the same place. So that's why I always say it's okay to change friendships. It doesn't have to be an insulting thing. It might just
yeah,
be that you went in that direction and they went in
yeah,
another direction. But where I always think it's super, super important is in romantic relationships, because you can't be living in that full-on one-on-one relationship, living in the home with someone when your core values are misaligned. And that's when I've had to do breakups where I'm like, yeah, it's just not
yeah,
working.
yeah. But I think knowing what your values are can really then help understand a little bit maybe what other people's are, and then it's just really like knowing who you are, so then you know what you want and you know how to get it. And I think knowing your values really helps. And so I have the journaling exercise in my book that goes through your happiest memories and then times when you felt deeply sad or regretful, and what was it about those situations, and you start to come up with the values that you might have acted out of alignment of the things that really meant something to you. But it's also about when do you get in flow. So for you would probably be like, recording these podcasts, and that's why you get so passionate, and I'm the same. I'm always like, I want to ask
Yeah.
about that, and or singing, and so the things that for others might be drawing or cooking or gardening or whatever it might be. And then who are your role models? Because we often admire people who we share values with, and so
Who are
I
yours? I reckon I can guess a few. Is
yeah,
Brene
well,
Brown one of them?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
Louise
yeah.
Hay one of them?
Who? Louise
Louise
Hay?
Hay.
Yes, I know. I've been listening to your, all of those thought leaders that really, like even Mel Robbins, like I love what she is doing at the moment, her let them theory and things like
Well,
that.
because
But
she
like when I
does
was,
tough love too, doesn't she? And
oh
I
yeah,
like her voice is very when I need that extra oomph of confidence, I like listening to her voice. I like someone once, a friend described my podcast as like something like a warm hug and a kick up the ass in the best kind of way. And I'm like, that's what I want to be, because that's how I feel Mel Robbins is, where it's like sometimes you need a bit of that
Yeah.
Wit and the tough love, right?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally. I know it's not all about, yeah, just being liked. I think if you want to have a bit of an impact, it has to be a little
Yes.
bit of, yeah,
Yeah.
tough love. But
Yeah. Because that's what I
yeah.
want to be. I've never been a polished person where I sound polished and looked polished. Wrong podcast for you if that's what you're after. It's just being really raw and authentic, and I'll share the most personal, embarrassing stories about myself. But that's where I find I connect with people, and I just think it's just so much more important than having a
Yeah,
really
well,
nice
that's
sense about me.
authenticity, which I
Yeah,
think people gravitate towards. Like if you're being not who you truly are, then people
yeah,
see through that. So yeah, I
yeah. And
think
everything's energetic, and people are going to attract to you more if you're doing what you truly believe.
mm,
Money seems to me to be the most universal blockage for people. What
mhm.
advice do you have for someone to reframe their money beliefs when all they've ever known is living paycheck to paycheck?
Oh yeah. So I think knowledge is power, really is. And I have a free resource on my website. It's a money mindfulness budget planner, and I think that can really support you to get a good bird's eye view of what is going on with your money situation, like how much is coming in, how much is going out, and then to start to look at things. I mean, some people have car loans that might be taking 40% of their income, but they're not
Yeah.
really thinking about it. And then, is the stress and the lying awake at night of, am I going to make it to next month? Do I have enough to afford my mortgage repayments, my rent? To really understand, where you're at and to start to live more within your means. I think that's important. But unpacking our limiting beliefs around money again, like why are we living paycheck to paycheck? Because I mean, another one of the limiting beliefs is that burying the head in the sand and everything's going to be fine. But underneath, there would be some anxiety of, someone asked me to something and I've got no money left and I can't go, and that's sad. Or, a bill comes in and you don't have enough money to pay for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
I
a
think,
terrifying, terrifying feeling. But it doesn't even equate to how much you earn. So many times I'm hearing
mm,
like the more people earn, the more debt they can accrue because they're spending more. So it's definitely about, I always think for me, whenever I've been financially successful, it's marrying the practical with the woo-woo of
mm,
really budgeting and really looking at what's coming in, where's it going, but then also having to manifest, like having a specific number of what you need and a specific purpose for it. I want to
mm.
attach this amount of money to that. I've talked about in previous episodes how I won 10 grand 3 days before I filmed a music video. It was 5 grand for the music video and nearly 4 grand to promote it. So I was like, well, how ironic that I won almost the exact amount. The rest I shouted the boys who filmed the music video dinner.
Is that the queen? Is that the queen, the king, queen of the
Your
king?
kingdom. Yeah.
Yeah, I
No, I
just
could have
watched
called it
that the
queen.
other day and I
Queen.
loved it. So, well, money well spent.
You know what? It was is to me money well spent. That mattered to me so much. It was a real, you know, butterfly moment for me coming out of my shell of really finding my self-worth. The lyrics reflect it, the song
Mm,
reflected it, and my life just went on an upward trajectory after that.
mm.
But yeah, it's definitely not burying your head in the sand. And there was a time in my life where I was scared to look at my bank account, and now I don't do that. And there's still a lot of work for me to do, but yeah, it's a tough one. And do you find with your clients it's a real common thread? The
Yeah,
finance?
definitely, definitely. Like that, they fall in different camps, and there could be even elements of scarcity plus, burying your head in the sand, and
Yeah,
that really hold them back from,
yeah,
yeah. And then they think, oh, I'm just not going to go out, for 2 weeks, for the whole month. But then you're losing all the joy in life, and I
yeah,
think it's about just having that sort of measured and practical approach to life so that you know where you stand, and then you can make choices around
yeah.
what you do with your money. And I think a lot of the time there are those big things because we often talk about, I'm just not going to have coffee in the morning, but that might be the thing
That
that,
brings you joy.
yeah, that brings
Yeah.
you joy. You get through
And,
a busy morning with your kids
but
and,
also, money is that flowing currency, and you've got
mm,
to spend it to make it too. And to
yeah,
me, it's always about when I'm spending it. Is it aligned? Do I get that ping of, oh, this is money I'm spending on something that's bringing me joy? Like I go to energy healing sessions, and that to me is money well spent. But yeah, is it aligned with your values of what
mm,
you're spending that money on?
mm,
It's so funny though. I'm always hearing the two would be money and love, and I think they both
mm,
come back to that worthiness and that self-worth and
yeah,
that working on yourself for you to put out to the universe, because it's really just aligning with the energy of the universe and not, waking up with that. I think Joe Dispenza says like 90% of your thoughts are repetitive. So that's what's creating your day. So how can you reprogram and reframe those thoughts? So everyone needs to buy your book so they can get on a roll
They
with
can
that,
work
right?
through it. Yeah, I'd love that.
What are your top 5 tips for up leveling your life that people can hang up from this podcast today and really start making changes?
Okay, top 5 tips. I think the first one is really carving out just something for yourself. Just, you know, for me, like I really do love my meditation and my journaling and my gratitude practice. And it can take, in a rush, probably 5 minutes. You know, I could do a 2 minute meditation quickly. I write 1 page in A5 journal. It's just getting my thoughts out of my head onto paper. And then I finish by writing 3 things I'm grateful for. And so that is my thing that I really do pretty religiously.
It sets the tone for the day,
Yeah,
right?
it sets the tone for the day. And I know, you would have lots of listeners that have young children. We talked about that before, that they're waking you up. But maybe you could do that at the end of the day, just before you go to bed or
And then
something.
napping.
But it might not even be that for you. I know for a lot of people, meditation is like, whoa, no way. Could be just having a cup of tea and just having, a few quiet moments to yourself. It could be going for a walk, maybe, going down and looking at the ocean or a beautiful lake or walking through a forest. I don't know, whatever it is. But I think doing something for yourself is so important.
Yeah, I think for me, sitting down at the beach, watching, like in Cronulla when it's a full moon, everyone goes down to the beach, as you probably know, to watch the moon. Sitting there and playing Crystal by Stevie Nicks, that is my number one way to get into a good mindset. But definitely nature, long walks, because it's getting you sort of out of your head and into your body. It's just,
Yeah,
it's very, very
so
special.
definitely. I would probably say then movement is definitely another one that I'd have to add on. So that would probably be more the mindfulness, a little bit something for yourself, but then movement is so important. I think that we do and find what it is, whether it's Pilates, whether it's yoga, whether it's running, walking, whatever it is, weights, I don't know, but doing some sort of movement, I think it just helps us to feel better about ourselves, the endorphins and all of that really, really support us. Then I think it would be really to start to unpack a little bit about, what are your limiting beliefs? What are the things that you think about yourself that are holding you back in life? And then, understand what your values are as well, because I think it's going to help us level up from understanding and harnessing our money and our finances, but also our relationships and feeling more worthy of finding love and having great connections in our lives that are going to inspire and uplift us rather than, make us, feel less than. So I think that's so important. And then I think it's a great idea to have some goals.
Yes, and written down. Do you write them down? I have to see them visually. That is spot on. I agree with every single one you said. They have all up-leveled my life drastically, especially if I make them a regular practice too, not just, do them on the 1st of January. I'm going to add 2 little things that for me, I want the listeners to know that have up-leveled my life so much. And one of them is, I forgot the first one. I hope it comes back. But one of them is like play. So have you ever seen Matilda, the movie Matilda?
Yep.
You know that scene where she starts working on her magic and they're playing that ooh, 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 and she's dancing around her apartment or around her house. I have done that since I was a little girl, just really ridiculous, stupid dancing around by myself. There's something about it, it gets you into the right frame of mind to be able to manifest. I feel like we just don't play as adults the way kids do. So for me, just like be silly, play, like dance in your living room. It really just shifts the energy so much. Let me see if I can think of the other one.
Yeah, but I know I truly agree with having time for spontaneity and like I love going out to a dance party. And I'm like, am I too old for that? I'm like, no.
No, when you think about the energy after you've been to a music concert of watching your favorite artist, and everyone's vibe is so high. So to be able to attract things, you got to get on that energetic match.
Yeah.
I can't think of the other thing. I'm sorry.
Well, connection
people.
I think is so important as well, and that even plays into that play. But I think connecting with people I think really up levels your life and having the right people, because you go to have a night out with your friends and you're still laughing about it and remembering it with fondness on Wednesday. It hangs around for so long to have good people in your life.
Yeah, spot on. We're going to end with a question that I love asking everyone. If you met your 18-year-old self today, what would you tell her?
Back yourself earlier.
Mm,
Yeah, I think, yeah, like I wish, yeah, that I didn't sort of take the safe route. As much as like I don't regret it because it has put me in a good place with,
yeah.
financially and all of that by working corporate and doing all those things. But yeah, I just wish I had that self-belief a little bit earlier of just to go out and
I know, me
write that
too.
book and yeah, do the things that are, yeah, not hold myself back.
Me too. Me too. You'd be surprised how many people answer with that answer because
Mm.
it's just so true. But then I'm always like, oh, but it's meant to lead that way. But I always say your human life and your human experiences are to learn lessons. So you can't just nail it the second you land into this life. It's got to be
Yeah,
those lessons
yeah.
learning.
And you're right. I mean, I could have been floundering for like
Yeah.
50 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I did. I got a good base and now I'm dancing through life.
Yeah. Makes me so happy to hear that. I love seeing people thrive. I love seeing other women thrive. It just makes me so happy. Everyone, get out and get yourself this book. I'm going to link everything in the show notes, but jump on Emma's website as well because you've got a lot of free resources there as well, right? And you do
Yeah.
your one-on-one coaching sessions, right?
Yep. I do, yeah, one-on-one coaching and yeah, there's free resources, there's courses and
And oh
there's a
my God,
podcast,
forgot to
yeah,
mention podcast host
yeah,
as well. It's a
yeah.
mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset and you're going
Yeah.
to be a guest soon, which I'm
So
excited to turn the
excited.
tables.
I haven't been a guest for years, so
Yeah.
honestly I'm nervous about that. I like being in the
Mm,
driver's seat now, but
mm,
it's good. It's good. I like to get myself uncomfortable and push boundaries.
yeah.
Everything's going to be linked in the show notes. Do check her out, and everyone do something in the next week to fill up your cup. And thank you so much for being here and for sharing your wonderful knowledge with everyone. I
Oh,
really
thank you,
appreciate it.
Steph. It has been such a pleasure meeting you, and I love that we're stones throw away from each other, so we have to meet in real life. And
Absolutely, we
yeah,
will.
and thank you for all the work you're doing and the joy you're putting out into the world and all
Oh,
the thought-provoking content. I appreciate it.
thank you. You too. You're a sister from another mister. Thank you so much.